Welcome in the sixth episode. Today we will implement logic to spawn balls in the random position of our grid. If you want to help support this channel, hit the subscribe button below this video, turn on notification so you will not miss any future episode I release. Also, you can download the completed project in my website. Go to the CodePlanStudio.com and go to the Buy Unity projects, where you can get the completed project without watching any of the episode. You will find many more projects on this website. Okay, so let's get back to our video. So first of all, let's open our project and go to the scenes and open the game scene. Now we need to add new script for our ball. So go to the scripts, right click, create C# script. Let's call ball. And let's open the script. So this script will stay empty for now. I will just remove the update method and then the comment, and let's save it. So this we will need this script just to reference the type. And now let's go to our game data, and inside the game data we will need to add one more structure. So let's right at the bottom, let's put the public struct and it's going to be the game field. And inside the game field, so the game field will represent every single square in our grid, and this game field will hold few different variables. One is the variable which indicate if the grid square is empty or not. So public bool is empty. Another one will be the square object. So public square, and this is going to be the square object. So this is going to be our prefab for the grid square. And then public vector 3, and this is going to be the position where we will spawn our ball within the grid square. So ball position, and another one will be public the ball object. So if the grid is empty, the ball object will be null. If it's occupied, then we will have some reference in our ball objects. So let's create the constructor for this. So public, and it's going to be the game field. And first of all, let's add bool empty, then square sqr, and the last one will be the vector 3 ball position. Okay, and now we need to initialize is empty will be equal to empty, square object will be equal to square, and then the ball position ball object actually the ball position will be equal to the ball pos, and then the ball object will be equal to null. Okay, so when we spawn our grids, we will always, all of them will be empty. So that's the reason we have this ball's object to be null. So now let's make use of this structure. So let's right at the bottom, I will put the public, and there's going to be the game field array, and I will call this array puzzle list. You can call it whatever you like. Okay, and now let's put new game field, and we want to put the 81. So that's going to be the size of our game field, because this is the number of the squares we have in our game. If you have more squares, just put the number accordingly. Okay, so that's it for this class. Let's go back now to our game init state, and inside this game init state we will need to do a few more bits. So the first thing is in our spawn grid square, when we're actually spawning the grid itself, we need to add the objects to our newly created array. So let's actually add it here. So game data at dot puzzle list at I-1. The reason we're doing the I-1 instead of I is because we started our loop from 1. If you would start the loop from 0, then you would put just the I. Okay, so just to not go over the size of the array. And then it will be equal to new game field, and now we want to initialize our game field. So let's put that this field is empty. Then we want to pass the square, which is going to be the temp square, and we want to pass the position, so that's going to be the new vector 3. And now let's pass the temp square dot transform dot position dot x. The y value will be 0.8f, and then temp square dot position dot transform dot position dot z. Okay, so that's gonna be our ball position. So once we done that, there is one more thing we need to do in this class, and because we in the previous episode we have spawned our grid, and we are initialized the init state, but we never switch from the init state. So on the entry after we spawn the grid, we need to actually switch to our game playing state. So the way we're gonna do it, we're gonna reference the object dot find object by type, and we want to find the game manager, and then we want to do the switch state. I think it's going to change state, and we want to call the game manager dot game state dot playing. So basically what we are doing, we're just changing the state to this. Okay, so now let's actually switch to our game playing state. So in the game playing state, the first thing, let's remove all of this unimplemented exceptions, because we won't need them for now. And then we want to the same as in our init state, we want to get hold of our game data. So let's actually go to the init state, and I'm just going to copy the constructor and this private read-only game data field. So let's copy that, and let's put in our game state right at the top. And of course we need to replace the name of the constructor, so it's a game playing state, and we want to get our game data. So once you've done that, you will have the error in our game manager. So let's switch there. And as you see, this is because we never pass our game data in the start method to our game playing state. So let's copy this game data and let's paste it. So make sure the game data is passed to the constructor. And now let's save this, go back to the game playing state. And now we can actually work on the spawning balls logic. So right at the bottom, I will create new function, which is going to be private, and will return IEnumerator. And this is because this function will be called from coroutine, and let's call it spawn balls. And then we want to pass the number of the balls we want to spawn, so int balls number. And then we want to indicate if it's the first spawn. So, and then we want to put the delay. So this is the delay when we call this function in actually when the spawn happened. So inside this function, let's first of all cache our ball number. So var number of the spawn will be equal to ball number, and then var temp list element will be equal to game data dot puzzle list, and this is gonna be the 0. So basically it doesn't matter which element you pass, we want to just get this initialized with our game data, so it's not empty. And then right at the bottom, let's create a new while loop. So while, and then we want to put number to spawn is more than 0, and inside our while loop we will put few variables. So first of all it will be var found will be equal to false, var itr, which is going to be the iteration, var exit flag will be equal to false, and this is going to be for the safety to not have infinite loop, and then int square index. Okay, and then right below we will put another loop, which is going to be the do while. So do and then while, and inside the argument for the while we want to run this loop until the exit flag is not true. So make sure you put this exclamation mark and then exit flag, and then make sure you put semicolon right at the end. So the do while is different than the while loop, because the do while is gonna definitely run at least once, where while loop is dependent on the argument, it may never run. So inside the do while, let's first of all initialize our ball square index. So square index will be equal to random dot range, and we want to get the random index from 0 to game data dot square numbers. Okay, so we want to get any index, and then we want to check if our game data dot puzzle list at square index is empty. So if the selected square is empty, then we want to set our found to true. Then we want to initialize our temp list element. So temp list element will be equal to game data dot puzzle list at square index, and then temp list element dot is empty will be equal to false, because we wanna spawn the ball inside that square. And then obviously we wanna we just actually took the copy of the object from this array, and now we want to put this object back at the same location. So that's gonna be this equal to temp list element. So the reason we did that, because we wanted to modify this argument, and you cannot really get you need to make a copy of this element, otherwise the argument will not be changed, because you're changing on the copy. So after we've done that, let's put our exit flag to true. Okay, and then after the if statement, let's put the iteration itr plus plus. Okay, so we're increasing the iteration. And then if there is a case where we have the balls in all of the squares on the grid, we obviously don't want to loop forever because this flag will never be set. So in this case, we're gonna actually put a safety check. So if iteration ITR is more than 5000, you can put any number there, it doesn't really matter. It just need to be large enough. We want to put the debug.log, and we want to put inside this log error. Okay, and then we want to set our found to false because we never found the ball, we just have the safety argument, and then exit flag will be equal to true to make sure we just ending the loop. Okay, and after this while do while loop, we want to check if we actually found the ball, found the square index. So found, and if we did, we want to actually instantiate the object. So var temp ball objects will be equal to object.instantiate. We want to actually instantiate our prefab, but we never actually cached the prefab. So before we continue, let's switch back to our game data. And in the game data, we want to get our ball object. So right below this public game field, let's put public ball, and this is gonna be the, let's say we want to first of all create the red ball. So that's gonna be the red ball object. Okay, and now let's go back to our game playing state, and inside the instantiating method, let's put our game data dot red ball object. Okay, and now inside our position in the transform, let's put the temp list element dot ball position. So in the rotation, let's put quaternion identity. Okay, so now let's put our temp list element, and let's put ball object to be equal to temp ball object. So we have the ball object there. And now let's add that temp list element to the game data. So game data dot puzzle list at square index will be equal to temp list element. Okay, and then outside this F statement, let's put the number to spawn minus minus, so we have one less ball to spawn, and then yield return new, wait for 4 seconds, and we want to pass the delay. So this is actually after we spawning each ball, we want to wait a certain amount of time before spawning another one. Okay, and I think that's it for this class. Let's for this function, let's call this function. Actually, let's put one more variable. So right at the top, let's put private bool, and this is gonna be the first time be equal to true, and then let's put this first time. So in the update, let's put if the first time, then we want to set the first time to be false, and inside here let's put let's actually spawn our balls. So let's call game data dot start coroutine, And then let's put our spawn ball, and then the ball numbers will be 3. We can spawn 3 balls. You can change the number of the spawning if you like. Let's put delay to be 0.3. And then the first spawn, I will just put the first time over here. Okay? So this is going to be our function, and we want to call it within the coroutine. So let's save everything now, and I think that's it for this class for now. So we're just gonna spawn 3 balls only, and if you want to spawn more, keep spawning the balls. You can comment this, but we just need 3 balls just to verify this works. So let's save everything and let's go back to Unity. So let's first of all create new folder. So let's go to the assets, right click, create folder, and there's gonna be the materials. Inside the materials folder, let's right click, create, and now we want to create the material. Let's call it red, and let's set the shader standard and then albedo set to red color, so we have just the red ball. Okay, so we have the material, red material. So let's create the ball prefab. So I will go to the top, and then let's say as a game object 3D and then sphere. So we're gonna create the sphere, as you see is there, and I'm gonna call it red ball. Let's set our material under the materials to be our red material. Just grab it and drop it there. So as you see, our ball turns red. Let's disable the cast shadow to be off, and then receive shadow, we don't want to receive it. Okay, so we have everything we need. We have our sphere collider as well. Inside the collider, make sure you just check is trigger to be true, because we don't want to collide with them with our grid square. We need to actually add one more thing, which is our script. So go to the scripts, grab our ball script and drop it here. Okay, so make sure the ball script is there. And now go to the prefab folder. Let's grab our red ball. Actually, let's rename it to be capital B. Grab our red ball and then drop it into the prefab folder. So you should see that prefab there. Okay, and now we can remove our red ball from the hierarchy. And now let's select our game data. And as you see, we have the red ball object over there. So let's grab our red ball and drop it into the red ball object. Okay, so now we can test everything. Let's press play. As you see, we have 3 red balls. Okay, let's do that again. We should have them in different location. That's fine. Let's do that again. So our balls are spawning. There is a small shadow around it, but this is because of the shader. So if you want to check, you want to play around, you can select the material and change the shader. I think something like mobile and then diffuse might be better, or UI diffuse. I think UI diffuse will be probably better. Let's actually check it. So you see we have a different look. If you prefer this, then feel free to change it, modify it however you like. I think I will stay with standard, and then we can change actually these metallic bits a bit, and then make the smoothness, and then albedo. You can play around with the settings if you like. So I will stay with the material like that, but you can change it, modify it, feel free to do that. So we have our 3 balls spawn in the different squares. And now if you want to change the number of the balls, so we can go to the scripts, then states, and then game playing state, and as you see, we have passed our how many balls we want to spawn. You can change the number. Let's say we want to spawn 10 balls. Let's save it, switch back to Unity, and as you see, we have 10 balls. So 3, 3, 6 and 4, that is 10. So you can actually play around with this number. I will just revert it back to 3 because this is how the rules of the games are, but you can change it if you like. So that's it for this episode. If you have any problems, feel free to watch this video again or leave a comment below this video. So again, if you like this series, please consider subscribing to the channel and leave a like. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in the next episode.